What is up, you beautiful people? We are going to get a 2023 fantasy football draft going, but there's some pressure. I was an idiot and titled this Dominating a 2023 Fantasy Football Draft. So, yeah, we better have a day, as Harry's saying in the chat. We better show out in this live draft, and, you know, that is a rare occasion for myself. But anyway, we'll hop into a Best Ball Mania first. We'll most likely get into a weekly winners draft after this one. But this is a $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool, just in case you don't know what's going on. I mean, $3 million for first place, $1 million for second place, some crazy regular season prizes as well. So yeah, let's get going in this draft. Super excited about it. We got a couple spots open for anybody wanting to draft with us here. But yeah, let's see what we have. Where are we picking? We're at 7. All right. 7's weird. I'll say that for sure. What's nice is there's never a spot where we are on the clock. I mean, we are having to wait, like 5 minutes between picks. Like, we're going to be on the clock pretty damn quick. It's going to be back to back, back to back, back to back. Just considering the fact that we're in the middle of the draft. The furthest we should have to wait for a pick, I believe, is 14 selections. So it's an interesting spot. We are the only red badge drafter out here. We have some people in with us. Prod out here, always drafting with us. Happy to have you out, my friend. Prod's in there at 2. We have Nabella in at pick 11. Happy to have you. Braden in at pick 4. Henry says the dreaded 7. Switch your dog back. We probably should switch the dog back, but it is what it is. Ashendon in here at 12 with us. It looks like a lot of people don't like pick 7. Ahung in here at 8. Make it work. We'll make it work. Mark Ward has 11 in another draft. I don't think 7's that bad. Like, maybe I'll be changing my tune after this draft, but y'all know I'm a Diggs fan. So if we can get Stephon Diggs at 7, pretty excited about it. Angel in here at 6. Okay, so yeah, we're going up against pretty much everybody here. Well, we're going up against the entire YouTube live chat. So there's extra pressure on because of the title of this. But real quick, we're 1 like away from hitting 100 likes in this live stream. So if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this stream. And of course, if you play fantasy football, make sure you subscribe. We are live streaming every single day these 2023 fantasy football underdog drafts. And of course, if you want to get in an underdog draft with us, these are best ball, so it's no time commitment at all during the year. It's how I drafted over 700 teams and won $150,000 on Underdog last year. You can sign up with promo code FLOCK with the link in the live chat description or comment section. Underdog will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100, so it's pretty much free for you to check out. Plus, with promo code FLOCK, you'll get my 2023 fantasy football rankings. Free trial to flockfantasy.com. Here's where Underdog is available for everybody. Let's mix it up. Let's go CMC here at pick 7. Y'all know I have not drafted a lot of Christian McCaffrey because in these drafts, generally, Christian McCaffrey, at least earlier in the offseason, was going ahead of Cooper Kupp, was going ahead of Tyreek Hill. I thought that was a pretty big mistake. But if we get CMC here at pick 7, this will give us a bit of a unique start out the gate. What we're most likely going to do is just to take whoever's highest according to ADP at pick 18, because in that way, we will have the fewest overlapping starts with other people in this tournament, right? Because the majority of the other CMC teams will have drafted Christian McCaffrey at pick 3 or at pick 4. So just as a hypothetical here, right? If Amon-Ra St. Brown, who usually goes to the 1-2 turn, makes it to us at pick 18, and we were to take Amon-Ra St. Brown there, then there are going to be very few teams in this tournament that were to have that combo. Now, I don't expect Amon-Ra St. Brown to make it, but just whoever does, that's what we're talking about. But Jay Swaggy coming out says, DM'd you on Twitter a Best Ball Mania draft. I did check it out. Okay, let me see if we can find this. And as I pull this up, I need some help here. I need your opinion. For the first draft today, what sparkling water are we going with? Are we going orange vanilla? Or are we going blackberry lemonade? Let me know what y'all are thinking. Let me know what y'all are thinking. Now, JT off the board at 14. Nick Chubb, 13. So Nick Chubb just going higher and higher in these drafts. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes, I mean, obviously it would have been crazy if we had St. Brown making it. Okay. So, orange, lemonade, orange, lemonade. It looks like most people are going to orange vanilla. All right, I got you. I got you. Refreshing. Garrett Wilson off at 17. If we would have had Garrett Wilson making it to us, that would have been freaking nuts. If we would have had Garrett Wilson, that would have been a start like literally nobody in this draft would have had. That would have been so damn exciting. Now, there will be teams that have the combination of Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. So it's not like super unique, but what I will say is this is like a brand new draft for us, right? How many drafts that you have you seen me start off Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley together? Very, very few. I mean, generally in Underdog, y'all know we're going like a running back around like 5, 6, 7. We're generally going wide receivers early on. But found Jordan's DM, so went Daniel Jones, Russ, Lance, QB. Quarterback, CMC, Barkley. Okay, so this is very similar to us. CMC, Barkley, Henry, Zach Charbonnet, and then go with the hyper fragile. I like that team, my man. We may have something similar. Like if Derrick Henry were to make it to us at 31, I'll probably go ahead and pull the trigger on a running back there and then go with the hyper fragile approach. I actually like it. Okay, so we have Henry Jacobs off the board here, 24-25. Mahomes finally goes. What will be very weird is if we're in a spot where an elite level quarterback makes it to it, such as like Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, like taking that quarterback there and going through the first 3 rounds with no wide receivers would be, I don't know. We'll see. Breece Hall goes pick 28. So the question is, if Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen make it, if Josh Allen makes it here, do we take Josh Allen? That's the question. I know how I'm ranking these guys. Okay, Allen goes, so we're going to take DK Metcalf. So I was going to rank DK Metcalf over Allen for this team. But if you had Metcalf off the board, I was going to take Josh Allen over like Calvin Ridley, Deebo Samuel, etc. So Allen was definitely in play for us. I think we were going Metcalf no matter what, considering the fact that we start off CMC, Saquon Barkley out the gate. But getting Metcalf here at 31, this is also something that generally does not happen. Generally, you're not having DK Metcalf fall this far. What's interesting is you have about a 9-pick slide of wide receivers. You have Pollard off at 22, and you don't see another wide receiver until 31. But Tyler coming out with a donation. Thank you, my friend, says, I have only done redraft teams, and I'm joining my first dynasty league. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receiver, a tight end, 2 flexes, and a super flex. Any advice in the initial snake draft? Okay, so let me just get these numbers down in my head. Okay, we have about, is that 9 starting lineup spots? If you only have 9 starting lineup spots and quarterback's going to make up 2 of those, I would say in general, we're going to be highly incentivized to go ahead and take a couple of elite level quarterbacks. The more flex spots / the more starting wide receiver slots you have in a super flex league, the little less important the quarterback position is going to be, just because they're going to make up a smaller percentage of your starting lineup output. But if you're only starting like 9 guys, I mean, if you're only starting like 9 players, quarterback's going to make up like 26, 27% of your scoring on a week-to-week basis. So if you can go like elite level quarterback at the gate, I'd really like that, my friend. Outloopy says, for a double running back start, this has to be as good as it gets. Yeah, I mean, in general, in these underdog drafts, very difficult to start RB. But I think you're probably right. I mean, if you're going to do it, this is probably how it has to look. If Lamar would have made it to us, oh, dear God, I would have said GG's to the rest of y'all. If Lamar Jackson would have made it to us at 42, we'd have had such a beautiful team. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take Christian Watson here. I mean, we need a wide receiver, right? There's not too much to discuss. Really, the only interesting thing would have been if Lamar Jackson would have made it to 42. passing on the need at wide receiver for him. Adam says, if Team 5 doesn't take Carr, why would Team 5 need to take Carr? Cody says, birthday today. Good luck. Happy birthday, my man. Can we please get everybody in the live chat spamming the chat saying happy birthday, Cody? Cody's out here hanging out with us a ton, and he's been a long, long time member of the vlog. So if everybody can spam happy birthday, Cody, that'd be awesome. Okay. NBF says, unstacked Burrow over Lamar. Interesting. Yeah, in general, I really don't like the Joe Burrow selection there at pick 39. Say, if you're taking Burrow round 4, in my mind, it has to be a team where you either took Higgins or Chase. Now, I'll take an unstacked Burrow if he falls to us like past ADP. Like if you're able to get like an unstacked Burrow at the end of the 5th round, I've taken him there and then targeted Tyler Boyd, Irv Smith Jr. a little later on. But, okay. Randall asking if we're passing on Fields. If Fields would have made it to us in round 5, I definitely would have taken Justin Fields. And we're not going to reach on Justin Fields with ADP when we have one wide receiver through the first 3 rounds, right? Like, there's no reason for us to reach on Justin Fields there at pick 42. Okay, so let's swing this back around. And I feel like we're balanced enough, that is, where we have some flexibility where it's not like we have to take a wide receiver here, right? I mean, if we have a wide receiver that we like making it to us, then sure, we can pull the trigger. But if we perceive the best value on the board not to be wide receiver, we don't have to take a wide receiver here in the 5th. Aaron Jones goes, M. Salas on the clock. So we're actually probably going to get Hawkinson. Yeah, because they took Kelsey. So we're going to go ahead and get TJ Hawkinson here in the middle of round 5. If y'all remember, this was a player going in the 4th round whenever these underdog drafts, whenever Best Ball Mania launched at the beginning of April. So, I know a lot of people were saying that they didn't like pick 7, but hell, for a pick that most people didn't want to have, I feel like we've crushed pick 7 here. Austin coming out with the donation. Thank you, my friend. Says, thoughts? Weekly winners. We have Lawrence, Ridley, Zay, Ingram, Kyler, Connor, Moore, Dortch, Young, Mingo, Chark, also Bijan, Brees, Penny, Devontae. In general, weekly winners, I'm not taking 3 QBs. I know a lot of people like to go ahead, and a lot of people are. I don't exactly know what the correct strategy is with weekly winners. I think we'll know way more about the overall contest next year when we can look back at it. But like if I take Lawrence, generally I'm not taking Kyler. I'm not taking Bryce Young. Definitely not taking both of them. But that's just me, my friend. That's just me. Okay. Now Burks off the board. Let's swing this back around. So is there a world where we take an unstacked Justin Herbert here? Does that world exist? Damian Pierce goes 64. This team has no Chargers, Sparkles. Let's see what they decide to do. I don't know what the right answer is in terms of is Herbert in play. So Herbert goes. So instead, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Michael Pittman. You could go Lockett to get a potential double stack with Geno Smith a little bit later on, like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith. But I would rather have Michael Pittman over Tyler Lockett. I think there's a very real possibility Tyler Lockett's the wide receiver 3 in a Geno Smith offense this next year. Now, RR Fitness says keeper London round 8 or Pickens round 9. Definitely go London round 8. So in general, if you're like playing in a keeper league, one thing that I've noticed is people really overreact to the actual keeper cost of these players. Keeping a player in round 8 versus keeping a player in round 9 is pretty much the same thing, my friend. Like, so it really is just who would you rather have? Jeep Guy says, do you prefer Best Ball Mania streams or in-season streams? Definitely Best Ball Mania streams. I mean, in-season streams, it's me sitting there and answering questions for like 4 hours straight, 3 hours straight. I would 100% prefer Best Ball. Like, if we could do underdog drafts, like, if Best Ball Mania was open 365 days a year, I have so much fun doing these drafts. I would do them every single day. Like, Freaking love these drafts, my friend. I mean, that's how we did 700 last year. It's not like we did 700 on a live stream. I mean, we were just drafting nonstop outside of the live stream. Like I said, since I've started training for the Ironman, I haven't been able to do as many drafts off the live stream as of late. But still, I freaking love these. Okay. Now we have Alexander Madison making it all the way down to prod at pick 74. I mean, the last time I saw Alexander Madison go this late was when was when Dalvin Cook was the Minnesota Viking. It's the last time I saw that happen. Okay, so Rachaad White off the board, 76. We assume M. Salas here is going to take Gabe Davis, right? Like, they have Josh Allen. Cook Jordan goes David Montgomery. So it's good for us to see all these running backs going before ADP, considering the fact that we went CMC Barkley out the gate. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and take George Pickens here at pick 79. I'm really excited about this team. I am really excited about this. RM says, do you have dreams where you're drafting in Best Ball Mania? Yes. I've talked about that a lot. Like, I do have fantasy football dreams, which I don't think is too weird. Just considering the fact, like, this is my entire life, right? Like, even before it was my job, I've been obsessed with fantasy football pretty much forever. So now that it's definitely it's my job and I think about it from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I don't think it's that weird that I have fantasy football dreams. Okay. So now in terms of quarterbacks that we could look to pair these guys up with, I mean, Lance definitely in play with CMC. Saquon Barkley, you have Daniel Jones in play, Geno Smith's in play, Jordan Love's in play, Cousins is in play, Richardson's in play, Pickett's in play. All our stacking options are still live. Okay, let's move this down. Tua goes 85. Tua goes 85 unstacked. You don't have Waddle. You don't have Tyreek. Really weird to see Tua go there. Bateman off the board at 88. See what Sparkles decides to do. They took Amari, pick 41. I wonder if they... No, they don't. They pass on Watson. I'm actually probably going to take Watson here. We could go Brandon Cooks if we really wanted to. Let's go to Sean Watson. This will put us in play to only draft 2 QBs. We can grab David Njoku on the way back around. Yeah, so Cooks was definitely the only other guy we were considering. And looking at that team right before us, M. Salas, 0 running backs through the first 8 rounds. They have Higgins, Mike Williams, Godwin, Lockett, Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks, a wide receiver. They have Kelsey at tight end. They have Allen at QB. Really interesting. Squeaky Clean says, 14-team PPR, how much are you adjusting ADP? Not really too much. I mean, I'd say slide running backs up a bit because they're going to be a little bit more in demand. But D. Gerganis, hopefully we said that correctly. Welcome to being a flocker, my man. Super happy to have you and happy to see the new little flock emoji next to your name. Yeah, no, thank you so much, my friend. Really do appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Padilla, this is Best Ball Mania. Okay. We have Jameson off 95. Moss says, Mason, if you had to leave the state of Texas, which state would you like to go to? I lived in Florida last year, and I really liked Florida. I would imagine that New York, I would imagine that California are probably a lot better than Texas, than Florida. But at the same time, They have state income tax where Texas and Florida don't. And they're also a lot more expensive in the first place. So I'm sure that California would be nicer, but same time, you got to take in consideration cost. And also, okay, Dylan goes 101. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take David Njoku. We're not going to think about this too much. Like we said, once you take Watson, I feel like you kind of are forced into going with David Njoku if you don't have like Amari Cooper, if you don't have Elijah Moore. And I like David Njoku at this price point as well. Like, if it would be a little bit different if we were reaching on him right and I didn't like David Njoku and we were just doing it, but it is what it is. Okay. Adam says, wait, how do you get the duck by your name? And then, yeah, so essentially you just become a member on YouTube. So it is a little confusing because you can't do it on the YouTube app on an iPhone because Apple takes like 30% of revenue, so Google doesn't let it. But if you have an Android, if you have a desktop, you hit the join button next to like the subscribe button, and there you can join to be a YouTube member, my friend. Okay. Colin, yes, we have to pay taxes on everything. Taxes aren't great. So if you can pick where you live, generally I'm taking that into consideration of where I'm living. All right, let's swing this back around. We have Juju off the board 109. Gino goes 110. Gino was definitely in play for us when we have DK Metcalf, especially if we want to only have to draft 2 QBs, right? Romeo Dobbs off the board 111. Dak Prescott goes 112. Okay, so Cousins in play when we have TJ Hawkinson. If we want Cousins, we have to take him here. There's no way he makes it back to us. So other quarterbacks we can be looking at later on. If it will take Cousins. Let's do it. Let's take Cousins. So we have CMC, Saquon Barkley, running back. Wide receiver, we have Metcalf, Watson, Pittman, Pickens. Tight end, we have Hawkinson, Njoku. Quarterback, we have Watson stacked with Njoku, Cousins stacked with Hawkinson. So, and GBD12 says, is being a YouTube member the same as joining through the website? No, flogfantasy.com is still like the place where you can find like all my premium content in terms of like rankings, where you can go through and get access like all the other fantasy football creators. Well, the YouTube membership is more so just like if you hang out a lot in these live streams, once we get closer to the start of the season and these live streams get bigger, we're going to do like a lot of YouTube member only streams. We'll probably stream to everybody. It'll be just like only YouTube members in the chat can actually talk. That way I can go through and make sure we stay on top of it. So it'll be more so just, I would say YouTube members. That's more like, hey, I like the stream and I just want to support. Whereas flogfantasy.com's that's like, hey, Mason, I may or may not like you, but I want to go get some cool stuff. And that's on flogfantasy.com. And of course, on flogfantasy.com, if you sign up promo code FLOG, get 30% off any subscription. And if you sign up with promo code FLOG, yours truly will go through and break down your fantasy football team in a podcast when you join. But we're going to go ahead and take Devon Achane here. I mean, he's fallen considerably compared to where he used to go. Obviously, with the rumors that you may have a running back going over to Miami, I would say Achane is probably the running back that's safest to have. If a veteran goes to Miami, just because you're not really drafting him for him to be a 3-down guy, right? You're drafting him for his 3rd-down role. Now, exactly how valuable is that really? I don't know. Like, I generally have not taken a lot of them, but once Elijah Mitchell goes, it's like, okay, what am I going to do? I like, in my mind, and I know maybe this is a bad way to go about it, and I understand Jerick McKinnon did have spike weeks when you needed them last season, but I have a hard time taking a 31-year-old Jerick McKinnon. That's probably just my monkey brain at work where I can't think enough in depth, but I don't know. B Money says, I'm a little new to the stream, only watching for about a month. Question, what's your favorite team? Love the streams. Well, first off, my man, thank you for being out here and hanging out with us. Second off, I don't have a favorite NFL team. I'm sorry. I know everybody's heard the story a million times, but I'm going to have to say it again. So the reason I got into the NFL wasn't like the traditional way that I think a lot of other people do. I think a lot of people get into the NFL and they start rooting for this team or that team because their dad does, because their mom does, right? So your dad's a Cowboys fan, so you're a Cowboys fan. You start watching NFL games, and then you start playing fantasy football. I drafted my first fantasy football team probably before I watched my second NFL game. Like, I got into the NFL because of fantasy football back when I was little. And I think for that reason, and also my parents don't really care, I don't have a favorite NFL team. Last year I lived in Tampa and I tried to root for the Bucks, but I would literally just watch the game and be like, oh, okay, how many targets does Chris Godwin have? Like, it's hard. Even like, I'm a former Texas Longhorn, and it's even hard for me to root for Texas. Like, when I watch their games, I kind of view it more so as like entertainment rather than rooting for something. But that's just because my brain's a little broken. But a marker word coming out. Always happy to see my friend says, who finishes with more fantasy football points this year, Tua or Deshaun Watson? Probably going to go ahead and take Watson, given the fact that he has just a little more rushing upside than Tua. Like, I think Tua actually is in play where I think Tua is just in general severely underrated. But from a fantasy football perspective, he doesn't have a ton of rushing upside, right? Where Watson does. So I think the gap between Watson and Tua from like a real NFL talent perspective isn't super, super wide, but there's a real gap from a fantasy football perspective given the rushing. Lunar says, Mason, what do we need to do to get you to commit to a favorite team? It's a rite of passage. So I will say, if Trey Lance starts for the 49ers this next season, I will be the biggest 49ers fan you've ever met. That's an exaggeration, but like, I have guys that I like, right? And I want them to generally do well. So like, I'd say, not joking, if Lance is starting, I'll probably be a 49ers fan, right? Because I'll be rooting for Trey Lance to do well. So I guess in a way we will be, but DNB says rooting for my fantasy team over rooting for my favorite team. That's how I would. That's how I go, right? Like, in general, I mean, like last year, say Jacobs, my most drafted guy. So am I a Raiders fan because I'm rooting for Josh Jacobs and the Raiders score a lot of points? I don't know. And yes, Sheep Guy, thank you for correcting me. Thank you. Okay. And Michael says 350 likes for another draft. Fix your life and smash that like button. Yes, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. If we hit 350, we will fire up another draft after this one. And of course, if you want to get in our next draft, you can find the link to Underdog Fantasy in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Underdog Fantasy is the same place where they have all the player props that you always see in the video. I know it seems a little weird because, I mean, they are just two completely different things, but they have those best ball drafts as well as the player props. So you can find that link in the live chat in the description. If you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, with promo code FLOCK, you'll get my 2023 fantasy football rankings and a free trial to flockfantasy.com. Now, just what we need, wide receivers, looks like they're making it to us. So quarterback, we have Watson, Cousins. Running back, we have CMC, Barkley, Devon Achane, Kondre Miller, Tyler Algier. Wide receiver, we only have Metcalf, Watson, Michael Pittman, George Pickens. And then tight end, we have a Hawkinson and Njoku. So we only have 4 wide receivers through the first 13 rounds here. We only have 4 wide receivers. Now, this is a great question by Moss. Love this question. And we're going to go Alec Pierce. I mean, we have Michael Pittman, so it makes sense to just have some correlation to that Indianapolis Colts passing offense, where maybe if the Colts are better than people expect this next year, both those guys could hit. But Moss asking, what is your least favorite month? I personally hate July. It's lame. I think this probably depends on where you live. So in Texas, it gets hot as hell. So July is pretty tough. Not going to lie. At the same time, we don't have any NFL games, but we start to get news. We start to get the redraft season going. We are in these drafts every single day. I think July is definitely a candidate for the worst month. I wouldn't include any. I think the fall's the best. As I get older, the fall's the best. We have football. We have good weather. We have Halloween. It's great, right? We have Thanksgiving. Love the fall. I'm not going to include any months from starting like September to, or I even include August, because August is like really the ramp up for the football season. August, I'm going to say like January, great when we have football. So really the months in play for the worst months are February through July. I would say when I was younger and I didn't have school, I couldn't include the summer months. The summer's obviously great when you're a kid. But now that doesn't impact me, I'd say July is probably up there. Everybody in the live chat, let me know, what is your least favorite month? We'll go least favorite month and then afterwards favorite month. But let me know what your least favorite month is first. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Paris Campbell here. We have Barkley, so maybe we build in some correlation at this Giants offense is better than people expect. And at the same time, in these Best Ball Mania drafts, there was a solid 3-week stretch where Paris Campbell was not being drafted. So I think you'll have him at a little bit of a lower ownership. Okay, so January blows. I mean, we have football in January, though, so that's hard for me to say January. April, March. February. June, February, March, April, February. January, the Minnesota cold sucks. See, this is what I was saying, right? I mean, in Texas, it gets cold for us, but I'm never sitting here and, there are very few days where I'm like, oh, it's miserable outside. It doesn't get that cold. That's why I could probably never live in the north, because I just can't deal with the cold. But let's swing this around now. We're in a tough spot, right? In terms of, no, I don't think we draft a 6th running back with this team. We probably go wide receiver in this out. But at the same time, I mean, these wide receivers are just kind of gross. Kerjaw says, May 9th, 2000 is my favorite day of all time. Trey Lance's day of birth. Yeah, this is right up there for me as well. Yeah. For every reason you said, my man. Every reason you said. Okay, Jeb Wilson off the board. We'll take a wide receiver in Tim Patrick. I don't really know what we should do. I know for a damn fact we need at least another wide receiver on this team. Probably 2 more. Now, maybe, just maybe, if we're in round 17, 18, and we're like, okay, you know what? There's not a single wide receiver here that I'm fond of. We can pivot over and go running back. Probably not, but I don't know. Meatwad says it was always Tim Patrick, best wide receiver in Denver. I don't know. Let me see if they have a Tim Patrick line out. Okay, these are underdog player props. They have Tim Patrick at 540 receiving yards. They have Sutton at 725. They have Judy at 900. I'm assuming they don't have one for Mims. They don't have one for Hamler. Yeah. I don't know if that makes us feel any better or any worse about this pick, but just to point out. So let's swing this back around. Yeah, so if we had 350 likes, we'll fire up a weekly winners draft after this. We'll get a weekly winners draft going. Okay. We could mix in a little Cedric Tillman at the very end of this draft to get another Watson pass catcher. If we really wanted to. CJ Stroud off 194. Chase Brown has been falling like a rock. Robert Woods goes. Sauce. I think we see them probably just go running backs from here on out. Do we just continue to take Giants pass catchers? Well, it will take Darius Slayton here. So we have Paris Campbell, Darius Slayton, Saquon Barkley. Maybe this can be a team where we make a bet that Hyatt busts, Wan'Dale Robinson's not healthy, and the Giants are good. Maybe that makes a little sense. I don't know. Yeah, but it looks like a bunch of people in on Travion Williams. I've rostered Travion Williams in a few dynasty leagues throughout. I mean, not going to sit here and say Travion Williams is nothing. Like there's a real shot he's starting over Chase Brown. Carson says, were there any undrafted players that hit last year? Pacheco was pretty damn close to being undrafted, right? I feel like every year you have one undrafted. Or do you mean undrafted guys in underdog drafts that hit? One of the best picks that you could have made, and this is the reason I lost money in underdog superflex drafts, I did not do well. And the primary reason being is if you took Geno Smith, you printed. Like Geno Smith was going in like the last round of underdog drafts, and I was not taking Geno Smith last year, and that was super flex. In one quarterback drafts, Geno Smith just wasn't being drafted. So I don't know if you're asking if there were any undrafted players in, yeah, I'd say Geno Smith, probably the undrafted guy that crushed. Also Isaiah Pacheco, of course. Isaiah Pacheco was being drafted by the start of the season, but I mean, back in like June, Isaiah Pacheco wasn't being drafted. I mean, instead, I was drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Ronald Jones like an idiot. Okay, so Zamir White goes pick 205. Ritter off 206. So Claypool was going to be interesting for us. Take Downs, have Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs. How does that even, I don't know how that gets there. If Fournette was going to make it, I was honestly going to take Fournette. Who the hell am I supposed to take? Maybe we mix in Palmer. I just don't know what to do at this point, ladies and gentlemen. I don't. We're going to go Joshua Palmer. I guess as a freaking handcuff wide receiver. What else are we going to do? Am I really taking Cordell Patterson? I don't know if we can take Cordell Patterson, but let me show off this draft. And yes, we are 10 likes away from in 350 and firing up another one. So if you have not done so already, go down there and drop that like. So running back, we have CMC, Saquon Barkley, Devon Achane, Condre Miller, Tyler Algier. Wide receiver, we have Metcalf, Christian Watson, Michael Pittman, George Pickens, Alec Pierce, Paris Campbell, Tim Patrick, Darius Slayton, Joshua Palmer. Quarterback, we have Watson paired up with Njoku. And we have Cousins paired up with Hawkinson. It's a weird team. Weird team. I like it, though. I like it. Generally, we're not in too many drafts where we start off running back. But let's go ahead. Let's get into our next draft now. Everything that we did in this draft previously, we're throwing that out the window. We're getting into a weekly winners draft. This is a completely different strategy. So just in case, if you don't know about the weekly winners draft, I know pretty much everybody here does. But this is a tournament where you are, I kind of want to go Kelsey. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it for a reason I'll talk about a little later on. But in Best Ball Mania, right, the team right before this, that was that draft tournament. The largest tournament on Underdog. It's a $25 buy-in. It is a $15 million prize pool. There, you draft your team, and you're in your 12-team league for 14 weeks of the season. The top 2 teams in your league advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament, where you go into individual brackets. The top scoring team in each bracket advances to round 17. And then in round 17, you're in a small pool of overall players where you're competing for that first place prize, such as the $3 million, the second place prize, the $1 million, the whole 9 yards. Here, this is a $15 buy-in where every week is brand new. And you're going up against 261,000 teams every single week. Here are the prizes. But because it's not a season-long thing and it's just a week-to-week thing, your overall draft strategy is wildly different. Wildly different. So we're going to try to figure this out. We're going to try to have a decent team. It's going to be much harder because I've already done, over 1,000 of those like Best Ball Mania drafts with that style. I've done maybe 10 of these. But Neil coming out says, how easy is it to track individual teams here in the season? Very easy. It's easy to track your winnings. It's easy to track your standings. It's easy to track your exposure. You just go to like active. You can click on any team. I'd say if you want to track individual teams, if you're going to draft like 10 of them, probably name each one, right? Say this is the team where I have Deshaun Watson at quarterback. That way you can click on the team and go into the league and see how it's doing. But yeah. Kelsey makes it a pick 4. So we have Jefferson, Chase, CMC, Kelsey, Kupp, Tyreek, Eckler. This looks a little bit like a regular Best Ball Mania draft so far. No, I'm still drafting Tyreek over Kupp with that question. And yeah, of course, if you want to get in one of these drafts with us, or if you want to go check out any of those player props, this is where Underdog is available. And you can find the link in the live chat, the link in the description, link in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our 2023 fantasy football rankings at a free trial to flockfantasy.com. Jeep guy says, how's the Ironman training going? Was the swimmer in school? Actually, pretty good, my man. Not going to lie. I am having fun working out again. And I think just naturally, I'm actually a pretty good runner. Like I've always wanted to be like a weightlifter or whatever. I think I'm just naturally a better runner. I've been running for like 3 weeks now. I ran 15 miles today. No problem. Felt good. Like my back was tight, but aside of that, felt great. Yesterday I swam 100 laps. Now that's like, my watch counts it as like one side's laps. If you're going there, back 50 laps, but it was like 2,500 yards. And the first time I really swam laps was like 5 days ago. So I don't know. I'm committed to this Ironman, my man. I actually just recorded a video. And I haven't made it public yet. I'm either gonna, and I'm not gonna promote this on like this YouTube channel. Like 99% of people watching this won't care at all. So I don't know if I'll ever even say this outside of this one time I'm doing it. It's gonna be like a separate thing. But I don't know if I'm gonna name it Flock Fitness or just Mason Dodd. And I'm gonna like do weekly recaps of like my training and preparing for the Ironman, etc. So I recorded like a video on the couch yesterday about me, why I'm doing an Ironman, why I'm making the YouTube channel, etc., etc. Let me know if that, and please do not tell me I'm interested and you're not interested. But if you would be interested in that, let me know. And that way get me a general gauge. Like, should I even be telling people that I am starting that other channel? You're never going to see anything like that on here, ever. Moss says, what's an Ironman? It is, you swim like 2.5 miles, you bike like 120, and then you run a marathon after. Okay. Flock, the Trey Lance Truth or Fitness. I like it. Yeah, but like I said, that's not going to be anywhere close to this. That's going to be, and it's more so the reason I'm doing it. And if I'll tell y'all where that you can actually find that video, you'll see is, It's just to keep me accountable. It's to make sure that I do it. Because if I don't put it out there in the world and I don't tell a lot of people about it, I just probably won't. I'll probably back out, you know. So I feel like if I make that channel and talk about it every week and tell everybody, that's why I'm telling y'all on YouTube. Because if I don't do it in 2024, then y'all know I'm a quitter and you can come make fun of me. If that makes sense. So that's like the entire reason we're doing it. Okay. And also, yeah, it would be cool to document everything and look back on it. But now we have Waddle going off at 19. So the general idea of what we're trying to accomplish maybe is in play for us to pick 24. And it's the reason why we decided to go Justin Jefferson round 1. You have Taylor off the board here at pick 21. Boys shooter on the clock. They took CMC round 1. Let's see what they decide to do here. They go Andrews. So sadly, I mean, our plan was to go Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson if they made it to us. Clearly, in the majority of these drafts, that's not going to be something you can do. In the vast majority of these drafts, you're not going to have Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson making it this far. But it is what it is. Sometimes it's worth trying it out. I think we are going to instead try to go with like a super late QB now that we don't get Mark Andrews. So let's see if boy shooter actually ends up getting the Lamar and Andrews stack. Let's see. Yeah, Lamar goes 26. So that's the reason why I don't really think you want to be taking Travis Kelce over Justin Jefferson over Jamar Chase. Just because with how it's lined up, I think if you're able to get Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson at the 2-3 turn and start those guys alongside like Justin Jefferson, it will give you such an advantage over the rest of the field that even if it's not likely, I want to have the possibility for that start, right? So like you can go into a draft and you can go, here's the dream scenario. And that's what you kind of have to do in these underdog drafts, right? I know we talk about this a lot, but generally I'll pass on guys and see if we can get them to fall to us and put ourselves in that perfect situation. Because if it's a $15 buy-in and you're going to win, say like 20,000, if you're going to have the highest score of the week in week 7 or whatever, and you win 20,000, everything kind of has to go right for you. Not only in that week, but also in this draft. So when I go into these drafts, it's like, yes, you can take Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews with the 1-2 turn. And I see a lot of people do that, and I understand why they do so. But if there are also some Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson teams here at the 2-3 turn, and they also have Justin Jefferson, they also have Jamar Chase, they also have Christian McCaffrey, then you just can't compete against them, if that makes sense. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Adam says, Mason, what was it like starting the channel? What made you decide you wanted to do this full time? And how does your life look? So whenever I started this YouTube channel, I was a double major at the University of Texas. I was going to graduate with an exercise science and a biology degree. I mean, those two separate degrees. And I didn't know if I was going to want to go to medical school or physical therapy school, but I just started a YouTube channel on the side, literally just for fun, because fantasy football is my entire life. I just listened to fantasy football podcast nonstop. I was pretty damn good at fantasy football. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's start this. It can be fun. And I just did it for fun. And then all of a sudden our senior year, it like took off. So I still finished school and still got the degrees and stuff. But yeah, it like took off. I was like, okay, well, I never thought in a million years that it was even a possibility that, because back then, like fantasy football YouTuber wasn't really a job, you know? So it was just fun. Charles says, when are you thinking about creating the new fitness channel? I think a lot of us are interested. And I'm not going to put in a lot of effort with this. It's more so going to be like a personal journal for me, at least how I'm thinking of it right now. It's going to be videos of me sitting on the couch going, yeah, this is what I did this week. This is how I'm feeling. This may be what I'm going to change in the future. So like, it's not going to be some big thing. It's going to be like some little small thing on the side. And honestly, I already have a video uploaded. I just haven't made it public. Probably this weekend. I was just more so thinking of like, okay, what am I going to name it? Am I even going to mention it on the fantasy football channel? which I guess I will. I'll let y'all know. I'll let you know. Okay. Now we have Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Deebo Samuel off in the middle rounds. Cameron says, have you tried the idea of avoiding the juice teams on buys weeks 10 and 13? Yeah, so I've actually heard that before from someone else in the live stream, and they gave me the idea. I did not have the idea, and someone came out in the live stream and said, hey, maybe if pretty much every team has a bye week in week 13 and week 10, if you go through and you avoid every player with the bye in those weeks, you can be going up against a lot of teams that have, say, a few guys missing on their roster. And if you have all 18 players, maybe you can take down week 10, take down week 13, something along those lines. I think it's a very interesting thing to look at. I have not personally done it yet, but I think it's a really interesting call, to be honest. Okay, so Gibbs goes, I think we're honestly probably going to take Najee and McLaurin. I don't think we're going to overthink it here. Yeah. Let's just take Najee Harris and Terry McLaurin. I think it's a fine price point. I think they fit a roster construction for us. Obviously, bye weeks don't line up. That's not going to be the end of the world. Definitely taking into consideration bye weeks and trying to line them up, but it's being more so used as a tiebreaker. And the other wide receivers in this tier don't have a bye week that lines up either. Jeep Guy says, I think a lot of us, including myself, watch this channel for you at this point, not just Fantasy Insight. We'll watch anything you put out. Thank you, my man. And yeah, I'll definitely let y'all know. I will. And Dane says, you have to help us out with these auction drafters. There are a lot of us and we need help. So the issue with auction drafts, and I've actually done a few on the live stream, is you can't do a mock auction. The reason being is if you do a mock auction drafts are so long where everybody has to be engaged and take it very serious the entire time. If, say you're in a 12-team league and one person stops drafting and they just get autoed the top guy at the list of ADP every single time, not the end of the world. The draft still goes through. But if we're 10 minutes into an auction draft or 20 minutes into an auction draft and some guy's wife says, like, hey, get off your phone, I need help with the kids or whatever, and he has no other option but to put his phone down and leave the auction, then the entire thing is ruined, if that makes sense. And also an issue with going through and live streaming auction drafts is auction strategy is so wildly dependent on your specific league strategy. I mean, your league settings are everything in an auction format, everything. So it's very difficult, very difficult. Okay. Adam asking why we're out on Ridley. I mean, I actually really like Calvin Ridley, and I think you can make a very bullish case for him. It's just more so going and looking through, pretty much all NFL history, and I can't find an example of a player outside of one name that did nothing for 2 seasons and came back and turned into a league winner. I can't find a single wide receiver who did legitimately nothing for 2 years and came back to be a league winner. The only guy is Randy Moss. So, yeah. I don't know. I would love to be all in on Calvin Ridley, and I'd love to be the Calvin Ridley guy and scream that everybody needs to be taking him. And here I would say when he's going at pick 42, this seems like a reasonable price point going after Jeudy, going after Deebo, going after, more so going as like a high-end upside wide receiver too. But in the majority of these underdog drafts, if Calvin Ridley is going in the middle round 3, if he's going to like pick 30, 31, it's a little difficult for me to do it. Okay. Now we have Dobbins off at 60. Let's swing this back around. If y'all remember in the live stream yesterday, we had like Lawrence falling to us to pick like 87, something crazy. So the bye weeks we have lined up right now, we have 7, 13, 6, and 14. 7, 13, 6, and 14. And at this point, this is about when the bye weeks become, a little bit stronger consideration for me. Once we have like our list of a decent amount that we want to be looking at. Even though, let's say, if you're looking at this ADP, like these guys were queuing up right here, like literally the players I want to be avoiding in this range. Okay. Frederick says, hey, Mason, going to Austin in August. Love the food there. What's your number one place? Oh, I can give you a million places, my man. Say, if you're going for barbecue, go to Black's Barbecue. And also, Here's a little life hack for everybody. If you are going to get barbecue, regardless of wherever it is, for whatever reason, if you order the barbecue by the pound, it is always much more expensive than if you get like a sandwich. So what I used to always do is I used to always just get like, say, barbecue by the pounds and then get bread on the side and make my own little sandwiches. If you just order it as a sandwich in the first place, generally the meat's like 75% the price. I don't know why, but just little life tip for everybody. Second thing is, go to Black's Barbecue. In my mind, it's very good. And the issue with the other barbecue places in Austin is you will be waiting forever. It will be a long, long adventure for you to get something, my friend. Okay, I have a couple ideas of what we can be doing here. Burks goes. So I think we're going to go. Honestly, we're not going to overthink it. We're just going to F me. Hollywood's definitely going to be a pick here for us. I mean, he lines up with one of our buys in week 14. The only other guy that lines up with a buy would be week 13 with Jordan Addison. But at the end of the day, I don't really know if we want to be taking Addison over Jackson Smith and Jigba, regardless of the bye week situation. I don't know if we want to be taking Addison over Mike Evans, regardless of the bye week situation. Don't know if we want to be taking him over Mike. I kind of want to just take Michael Pittman here and say F it. What am I supposed to do? I think I'm just going to go Pittman. I think I would take JSN if it was Best Ball Mania and we're trying to optimize for weeks 15, 16, 17. However, with the weekly winners, I don't necessarily want to take someone like JSN and then he does nothing for the first 6 weeks. And even if he comes on to turn into a league winner in the second half of the season, we wasted 6 weeks of potentially not getting spikes. I would rather load up on rookies where we're optimizing for the final fantasy football playoff stretch. But specifically, if we were going to be looking at a league where weeks 1, 2, and 3 matter just as much as weeks 15, 16, 17, I think maybe we're a little more inclined to go ahead and take the veteran there with someone like Michael Pittman, as well as Hollywood Brown, right? So far with this team, we have Jefferson, Higgins, McLaurin, Hollywood, Michael Pittman, a wide receiver. Running back, we have Pollard, Najee Harris. And Tank says, how do you feel about the Colts offense, Mason? Are you confident or not? So generally, it's actually really concerning if you go and look at like the projections right now. Of course, y'all know, as I've said time and time again, I think looking at player props are kind of the best projections you can get because like Underdog, if they're wrong with this, they can lose a lot of money, right? And they only have Michael Pittman at 4 receiving touchdowns and 800 receiving yards. And they only have Anthony Richardson at 16 passing touchdowns and 2,700 passing yards. So the lines that they have with these guys are incredibly low, kind of saying that, hey, you probably shouldn't be all in on the Indianapolis Colts passing offense this next season. But at the same time, there's a reason why we're getting Michael Pittman at 73. And I mean, I don't even want to count this out, but I mean, we're getting Michael Pittman as like a low-end wide receiver 3 here. If that makes sense. So by no means do I think that the Indianapolis Colts are a top 5 offense, but at the same time, it's kind of priced in, right? Like if the Colts passing offense is just average this next season, Michael Pittman is a phenomenal selection at 73. Now, the projections say that that won't be the case. The projections say that the Colts offense probably won't be any good. And that's definitely something you have to consider, but I don't know. Let's swing this back around. Pickens goes 84. Evan Ingram off the board, 85. Okay, so, I mean, I don't want to be adding too many more different buys in here. We already have what? A week 6, 7, 11, 13, 14. We already have 5 different buys. So we should be able to get by with these bye weeks here. We have James Conner's gone. So we have Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman lining up with buys with us. Michael Thomas lining up a buy. James Cook lining up a buy. Anthony Richardson obviously lining up a buy and giving us a stack. Dak Prescott lines up a buy. Kamara does. Gibson does. And he builds in some correlation here with that Washington offense. So we'll see. We'll see. TT Warrior says your favorite fast food place. So If you're talking like nationwide fast food that you can't really beat, and honestly, in my mind, this isn't really up for debate. And I know I've argued with a lot of people about this as well, but the best burger you can get, considering price, I understand if you go to Five Guys, it's going to be great, but Five Guys is also going to be $12 for a burger. I don't really consider that fast food. I can go to In-N-Out, and for $10, I can get 2 double cheeseburgers that are phenomenal. Phenomenal. So for me, it's In-N-Out. But I'm also not a super big French fry guy. Like, regardless, if I go to like Chick-fil-A, I always get 2 chicken sandwiches. If I go to like In-N-Out, I always get 2 burgers. I'm never really going back and forth and getting a bunch of like getting fries and crap. Okay. Michael Thomas, Anthony Richardson both line up for bye weeks for us. Do we just pull the trigger and say F it? Sure, we'll take them. Who cares? It would be different if we had some other guys making it to us at a pretty good price, but it's not like we have anybody here at this point that's like, oh, this guy's phenomenal. We need to make sure we get him on this run. All these guys are about the freaking same at this point. I definitely prefer the running backs over Michael Thomas in this range, but I just don't really love Kamara in this kind of format. Like, I like Kamara in Best Ball Mania because we're just thinking about weeks 15, 16, 17 where we can. I like Javonte Williams in Best Ball Mania because we're just thinking weeks 15, 16, 17. But here, if we're having to think about weeks 1, 2, and 3 mattering just as much, I don't like those running backs. So it really depends on the format, right? Javi says Chick-fil-A reigns supreme. Chick-fil-A is phenomenal, but my issue with Chick-fil-A is I have not eaten it in 2 to 3 years simply because the line. Like, trust me. Love me some Chick-fil-A. But one, we have chicken places in Austin. Like, I'm probably going to go get a grilled chicken sandwich after this from a place called Tumble 22. It's like the best chicken sandwich you could get. Going back to the question we had earlier, someone coming to Austin. Go to Tumble 22. It's phenomenal. So we have great chicken sandwich places here as is. Like, if I wanted to go to Chick-fil-A, I'm waiting 30 minutes in my car through a drive-thru, and I'm not about that. Okay. Now, David and Njoku off the board 102. Now, once we take Richardson, not in love with it, right? I think that we're in a little bit of a weird spot in that I don't know if we're excited to draft another quarterback. I don't even know if we probably take another one at the very end just because we waited until round 9. I think you can take multiple quarterbacks. But generally in this format, y'all know I'm not trying to take multiple QBs. Andrew says Whataburger over In-N-Out. As someone who lives in Texas, as someone who grew up in Texas, I've lived in Texas my entire life minus 1 year. This is the worst take anybody could ever have. I know that's aggressive. And trust me, I argue with my friends about it as well. But Whataburger is very bad. Maybe it was different 10 years ago before the Chicago Corporation bought them out. Whatever. They have great branding. But if you go to Whataburger now, Whataburger is literally Burger King, but 10 times the price. Yeah. And I know everybody that lives in Texas thinks Whataburger over In-N-Out. I can't do it. My girlfriend loves Whataburger. Okay. Now let's swing this back around. Okay, we have a bunch of wide receivers going, so maybe our decision to go ahead and take Michael Thomas wasn't as bad as it seems. Now, going and lining up buys here. We are still week 6. That lines up for us. Okay, what about week 9? No, we have no week 9. We have no week 5. We have no week 10. Daniel Jones doesn't make sense. We do have a week 13. We do have a week 14. Still going for week 11. Okay, so I think these are kind of the guys in play for us at this point. And I'll say, I know we've talked about this time and time again, but Samaje Perine definitely a lot more appealing for me in a weekly winners tournament than Best Ball Mania. For the reasons we've already mentioned. I guess actually we do have Pollard. How bad would it be if we went Dak Prescott? I generally don't like taking 2 quarterbacks, especially not this early. But if we were going to do it, maybe this is the spot where it makes a little sense. Maybe. So Gibson off the board 112. Antonio Gibson falling to us would have been beautiful, but it's just not realistic, right? Okay. Zay Jones goes 114. Pat Frymuth off 115. I would have loved having Pat Fry make it to us as well. Yeah, I don't like this weekly winners draft nearly as much as our one yesterday. I mean, our one yesterday when we had like Lawrence making us like pick 88 or whatever it was. I really like that team that we had. Okay, Charbonnet, Dak, both off the board. A team that takes Dak has no Dallas Cowboys. Don't really understand the Dak Prescott selection there. Okay. AM Carter on the clock. Let's see what they decide to do. They go Damian Harris, so we are going to go ahead and take Brian Robinson, Jamal Williams. So lines up, week 14, week 11 bye. Those are going to be the two main weeks that we are punting. I mean, right now we have McLaurin, Hollywood, Brian Robinson, all in the week 14 bye. Week 11, we have Richardson, Jamal, Michael Pittman, Michael Thomas. So those are going to be the guys we're punting there. But I'm about to piss myself. Give me 1 second. All right, much, much better. Daniel Jones off the board. So I can say this for a damn fact. And I know we've kind of nailed this point home a couple times now, and people are probably tired of hearing it. But if you're looking at like that team there that takes Lawrence, Cousins, Daniel Jones, that is, in my mind, a very bad way to go about these weekly winners drafts. Because say Daniel Jones is the guy that you need to win a week, right? Even though there are 26,000 other teams that, no, I think it's 22,000. Let me do this math real quick. So there are 261,000 teams here times divided by 12. So there are 22,000 other teams that have Daniel Jones, right? So if Daniel Jones is the quarterback one in an individual week, which is definitely a possibility. Hell, he got me 16th place in Best Ball Mania last year in week 17. He was pretty damn good. But say he's the QB one. You're going up against 22 other thousand teams that week that also have Daniel Jones. But what they may not have is they may not have Trevor Lawrence in round 6. They may not have Kirk Cousins in round 9. Instead, they may have Chris Godwin. They may have David Njoku. So they may be just going up with you with that same exact quarterback, but just completely out-kicking you at the other spots. So even if you get it right, and even if Daniel Jones is the QB1 that week, how do you beat the other 22,000 teams whenever they probably have a wide receiver in round 6? Whenever they maybe have a running back or a wide receiver in round 9 as well, where you have dead roster spots on your team. So I don't love it. I don't love it. Joe says, thoughts on a 3-6-6-3 structure succeeding in Best Ball Mania? I don't think it's ideal. I think that there are very specific draft situations you could find yourself in where you kind of have to do it. So I've drafted a few 3-6-6-3 teams before, but it's never your plan A, right? Plan A is never 6-3-3-6. Okay, so week 11 in play for us. Week 6, in general, handcuffs are just horrendous in the weekly winners, right? Because if Jalen Warren's ever going to be like a top 5 running back in a week and he's going to spike into our lineup for us to win a week, then Najee Harris is a dead pick on here. I think Best Ball Mania, you can get away with like handcuffing guys if it's at a decent value. You're never targeting a handcuff, but you can get away with it if it breaks that way for you. Week 13, Komets. Week 7, Adam Thielen lines up as well. Week 11, Alec Pierce. Okay. Maybe a wide receiver with Thielen and Alec Pierce. No, I think we probably want Taysom. Let's just take both week 11 guys. Full punt week 11. So right now we're really built around the Saints and Colts. I don't love this team. I mean, it is what it is. I think if we would have had, obviously, I mean, woulda, coulda, shoulda. If we would have had Jamar Chase making us round 2, it would have been great now. I mean, but realistically speaking, if we would have had, say, like Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews at the 2-3 turn, I mean, that would have just put us in a beautiful situation. Right? Like if you're looking at this, wide receiver, Jefferson, Higgins, McLaurin, Hollywood, Pittman, Michael Thomas, Alec Pierce. So we have the double stack with Anthony Richardson, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman. Running back, we have Pollard, Najee, Brian Robinson, Jamal Williams. Tight end, we have Taysom. No. 20 says, handcuffs only make sense in redraft, and I still want to do it. Handcuffs don't make sense in any stretch of the imagination, to be honest. Best ball, the redraft, handcuffs don't make sense. As you're trying to maximize your ceiling, you want to be the one team that wins, not one of the 11 teams that lose. So if, like, say we take Bijan Robinson and then Tyler Algier falls 20 picks past his ADP, there's a world where taking those two guys can help you in like a best ball mania type situation, right? Where, say, if Tyler Algier goes down for 10 weeks, Bijan Robinson goes down for 10 weeks, and then in those 10 weeks, Tyler Algier ends up being like a top 10 running back. He lets you advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament. Bijan Robinson comes back, but all the teams that drafted Bijan Robinson actually get eliminated because they didn't have Tyler Algier, and you can sneak Bijan Robinson in. And then weeks 15, 16, 17, Bijan's the running back 1 overall. You can like kind of spin it in your mind that in like a structure like that, having a handcuff back, if nobody else is doing it, may not be the worst thing in the world. But specifically, if you are in pretty much any other spot, it's pretty bad. Okay, so if we're lining up buys, Carr is obviously in play when we have Michael Thomas, Taysom Hill, Jamal. I mean, he lines up where we punt the week 11 buy as well. Singletary lines up week 7 for us. Roshan lines up week 13. We have a couple week 13 guys here with Hodgins, Campbell. We have Curtis Samuel as well. We are built around McLaurin, Brian Robinson. Okay, let's see. Singletary 159. Honestly, even if Carr makes it, we may pass on Carr, seeing if we can get him in the 16th round. I know it's crazy to say, but I think there's a chance. Okay. Patrick off the board, 162. Jared Goff goes. All right, what are we doing? Campbell off the board. Car Roshan? Probably, right? Derek Carr, Roshan Johnson. Like I said, generally not super excited to go ahead and take a second quarterback. I think if you are going to do so, it really only makes sense if you wait on that first guy. Like, I mean, I think we can still win a week if our around 9 pick is dead, right, with Anthony Richardson. Yeah, we're definitely not taking a third quarterback, I'll tell you that. Definitely not going with 3 QBs there. Okay. Higbee off the board, 173. Love the price point on Higbee. Wandell goes. If Wandell starts on the PUP, it is going to be really tough for us. Y'all know I've drafted a lot of Wandell Robinson. Like I said, if it were to make sense, I mean, you probably want him in Best Ball Mania, not here. Swing this back around. Love not really in play. And this is why I think that it's honestly not the worst thing in the world for you to just not take another QB there. Okay, we're 5 picks away. Maybe we can go Deonta Foreman and say, okay, well, what happens if Khalil Herbert goes down? Nobody's getting Deonta Foreman this late, blah, blah, blah. Don't love it when we have Roschon. You can say the same argument for Juwan Johnson there. Gus Edwards fills in the bye week for us. Renfro fills it in. We're going to go. This is so weird, right? Probably go Juwan Johnson and Gus. I don't know what the right thing to do is, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. We have Taysom. So it doesn't really make much sense for us to grab. I don't know. I don't know. And these guys are so ugly. I'm fine taking another tight end as well. But I think we're probably going to cut the live stream here. Hopefully this helped at all. I don't know. Generally with these weekly winners drafts, I'm just so freaking lost. But again, thank you so much for everybody hanging out with us. Y'all know I'll be live tomorrow. I'll be live the next day. I'll be live the day after that. So of course, if you want to hop into one of these underdog drafts with us, you can find that link in the live chat, link in the description, link in the comment section. Sign up with promo code FLOCKEDUNDERDOG. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you'll get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com. Here's where Underdog is available. If your state's in yellow, has Underdog Fantasy. But again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Really do appreciate y'all. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope that we get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow night.